So we're going to do a reading. Three. Hold up 4 fingers and say 3. Okay. 4 to choose from. So use your own intuition to decide if one or more of these picks has a message for you. Begin. Actually, before we begin, in case you don't read the description, it's important to know that these readings are used as a way for you to reflect on how you experience something, or how you, or expand your awareness around something, get a different point of view, or maybe have reassurance about what you're intuiting about your own situation. This isn't meant to predict for you or tell you what to do. Although guidance may come out, you always have to reflect on how you feel about it. And I think that's a really important thing. And, something that I became aware of after starting to consume readings online about 4 years ago. Different things became clear to me. And one of them was that sometimes it's your own energy that you're going to be choosing to read about, even though you think you're going to be getting information about someone else. And sorry, I just have to put my hair up because I tried having it down. It's just I can't. It feels too in the way. The other thing is sometimes the reading can reflect your desires. Your desire is part of your energy. If you have a very strong desire, that could be reflected back to you in the reading. And you have to discern what it is you're being read for, what energy your intuition is having you look at, and what it's for. I think a really cool use that I ended up using the readings for over the past 4 years was healing. Because if I was inquiring about someone else and the message I got triggered me, that allowed me to heal and work on that trigger without even having to interact with them, to just interact with the energy. And I think that is a really awesome use of these type readings, where you're looking into how somebody feels about you, or what they're thinking, or, what the gossip is on you, or things like this. Because I don't think it's healthy to just seek out things like that, because, your experience is your own and it comes from within you. But in order to get to know yourself better, it can be helpful to reflect on what it is to experience others and what they may or may not be thinking, or what you hope they're thinking. And if you consume readings like that and you use that for the purpose of self-reflection, the energy says this, but that makes me feel this way. And it's look within yourself, and what is it showing you about you? Because I was able to heal so much in my energy body just through the reflections that I got from the readings that I consumed over the past 4 years in the relationship realm. Things like, what's he thinking and feeling, things like that, that I didn't have access or privy to. And I was mostly isolated. So these weren't things that were going to be triggered in me elsewhere. But since I was consuming those type of readings, I was able to still get the valuable reflections that I needed in order to heal things. So I highly recommend having that mindset when you consume things like this. Because it matters most what you think and what your experience is and what you feel. And this isn't about being judged, and this isn't about promises being made for you. This is just about you reflecting on the information. So use it for what it's worth to you. Sometimes you do need comfort. Like, if I think earlier on in the journey, if you're just stepping out of codependency and you get like a fluffy, comforting reading about don't worry, you're loved, and that can be helpful. And so if you needed that, I would consider it like a fix. It's like I'm trying not to be codependent, but I'm still codependent. So I just kind of need to have a little bit of reassurance. Maybe consumer reading that could fluff you up a little, I would say. But it's kind of like being very conscious of it. Like if you're healing a broken bone and you've been on crutches, there comes a point where you need to let go of the crutches, you know? Just some food for thought when it comes to reading. So let's get into it. We'll start with the first pile and see what comes out. I'm going to start with my astrology oracle. Okay. Pick one. Just shuffling it. That I see, which is Imiam coli. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's the deepest, most foundational part of you that became you due to the household you grew up in. Then we got natal, so something else about where you were born into, what you were born into. And then we got Capricorn. Now remember, these energies, when I have something like Capricorn, it's an energy, right? And that may be your sun sign or some other sign that you have in your chart. It's definitely in your chart. But what it's doing for me in the reading is letting me know that this is an energy, that it's sort of fixed, and it's sort of a structure, and it's sort of containing, and it's sort of very responsible and likes to be that way. But then right below it, Eris came out. And Eris is, it stands for the goddess of discord and chaos. And so obviously that breaks the structures. So let's see what else we have. Echo, which is interesting because I was in the intro, I was just talking about codependency. And echo kind of makes me think about codependency, but it's not exactly that. Echo is something that's repeating, right? But in the mythology, the story of Echo and Narcissus, Echo is doomed to only ever repeat what Narcissus says. And Narcissus says he loves himself. He loves Narcissus. And so Echo also loves Narcissus. She just echoes what Narcissus does. So she never gets a reciprocation. The love is never coming back towards her because she's tied herself to loving someone who just is selfish. Interesting. So then we've got Mars. And Mars is our will. And it's the soldier energy. It's what drives us. It's how we feel our passion. In this case, we may be very passionately driven towards something that we're just like one-track mind on it. Or we were in the past and now we're being asked to revisit it. Yes. We got retrograde. And anytime we have a retrograde, you might have heard about Mercury retrograde the most, but some of the other planets go into retrograde as well, maybe even all of them. And retrograde is a time to have another look at an old thing. So this is asking us to look at an old thing where there was you're passionately driven on this one-track mind kind of way. And perhaps it was very disruptive to your comfort zone. Interesting. You may benefit from an astrology reading at this time because I got astro.com, which is the site that I use to look up astrology charts. And it does have a free option. So if it's in the chart, it's about how the energy's working right now. It's not necessarily talking about some sort of underlying thing that's been bothering you. Thetis. Thetis, I believe, is the shapeshifter. Thetis is the shapeshifter. Is that true? Pretty sure it's true. At the very least, Thetis is on the stage, is theatrical. Just heard like wearing a mask or fake it till you make it. So it's like something you've gone forward with, you decided to wear a mask or fake it till you make it. And it's asking you to kind of go back into the place where you decided to do that in the first place. Because there's another way to look at this. Okay, so it's saying like, okay, so you came upon a time in your life and from the perspective you were in, you decided to proceed in a certain way. And perhaps it was to stay focused on something and to just kind of not let yourself get distracted. Although it seems like there was some sort of distraction and something that was maybe pushing you out of your comfort zone. And that could have been the thing that you were focused on. Or you could have been focused on avoiding it. Let me ask the different deck for that. It may have been different for different people, but let's just see if I can narrow it down. Okay, what did we need to know about the way Mars is used here? What did we need to know about the way Mars is used here? Trusting your intuition. Okay. What did we need to know about Echo? Free will. Okay, so maybe you felt like something wasn't good for you. You even stuck with it even though you felt like it wasn't good for you. Back to the place where you made some decision. Tell me about Thetis. Tell me about Thetis. Find out more and then completed cycle. Oh, okay. And then tell me about the retrograde. Tell me about the retrograde. Okay, so it's something like you needed to go down the path that you took because you kind of needed to see what it was all about. But now it's saying back up because now you know what that was all about. And I kind of get the sense that like to learn something the hard way maybe you needed to know, like, you needed to go down that path. Maybe it was to clear something, to clear karma, or just to learn something that you needed to know, or to just know that that wasn't where you wanted to proceed. And this is saying back up to the point where you did make that choice, and you have found something out now, and you can so clearly see it and understand it that you could clearly communicate it. So there may be a reason to communicate what you've learned down this path that you've gone on. And an astrology reading may be of assistance to you at this time. So you're clear on what part of your life this is referring to, then maybe this isn't for you. But also an astrology reading might be able to kind of clue in on it, on what energies were at play, so that you're not missing anything out of the experience that you've had, that you can sort of extract all the data. Have faith. You recreated the past out of fear. So that's what you were seeing, is that you were meant to go down that path, but it was so that you could see how that path mimicked your past, so that you could heal the root cause of something in your past that was now holding you back, that was keeping you in a comfort zone, I'll say that, and thereby holding you back. And what will help you move forward in this is spending more time in nature, just to get, clear of any outside influence on your intuition, and assessing your values. Because may feel like if you don't have this path that you were on, and with going down with the choice you made, you may feel like you're roaming aimlessly. Like, okay, well, what do I do now? And this is sort of saying, like, get still and be in nature so that you can hear kind of your intuition, and recognize when something becomes more exciting to you again, so you can move in that direction. And it's going to be through seeing something from a different point of view. Yeah. Which you may not have even considered or looked at had you not had the experience in the first place. Be creative. So it's kind of like, yeah, you needed to go down that path, even though in retrospect it might feel like the wrong path or something like that. It wasn't, because you're trying to gain a bigger picture view. And so in the bigger picture view, sometimes what we need to know is what doesn't work. We need to know where certain feelings lead us, or where certain patterns lead us, or one of the things that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about when they discuss mastery is that there are so many errors made that you learn from as well. And so this is kind of saying, first of all, recognize that you're on a path where you kind of need to stop now and go back, because you've learned all you can learn, and there's a bigger picture for you to find out more about. And it involves backtracking to the place where you decided to go down that path. And then sitting there with the view you have before you make a decision on where to go, which will be from your intuition and from what you're passionately drawn towards. Okay, pick one. That completes your reading. On to pick two. Two, as I'm beginning your reading, I noticed a little spider, a little tiny spider. He's so light and airy, and he's on my desk here. So spiders weave their webs, and sometimes it's about the stories we tell. I think I'm gonna pause and put him in my plant to see if he enjoys that, because I usually like to not let spiders just roam aimlessly, but put them in my plants. Hold on. I don't know if I actually got him. I tried. We'll see if he moves again. You may be relocated. Pick two. Or maybe you just relocated. And we've got natal. So something, maybe you relocated back to the place you were born, or got Icarus. The story of Icarus is that he flew too close to the sun and got burned. Are you pushing yourself to go above and beyond and better and better? Narcissus and Aries. Aries is an energy that's willing to foolishly go where others won't go, say what others won't say. And Narcissus is an energy that really focused on self-love. Got Amasitia, which is an asteroid that represents friendship. A whole sign, which indicates looking at a bigger picture or a different lens than you might normally look. And then we've got Sagittarius, which is a bigger picture view. So where does your self-love fit into the bigger picture view? Okay? Like, have you looked at why you are looking to push yourself in this direction? Why? Okay? And just got a vision of something here. And it was that one time my brother told me that how he gets things done is he decides and then he just doesn't waver from that no matter what. And I said, what if you get new information? He goes, doesn't matter. And, you know, this is years ago, so maybe he's adapted his way of being or whatever. But the point is, you know, it really stuck with me because to me that was unfathomable. Because, I mean, I understood the point because he did get a lot more done than me in general. And I was always wavering because I always felt a different way about it, about the same thing, you know, all the time. And I was always considering new information. So it was harder for me to stay on track in one decision or one direction. So I understood like the why that was working for him, but I also couldn't adopt that for myself because it didn't make sense to me to operate that way. But this is kind of saying that you may have adopted a reason to aspire to something, to stay focused on something, to stay on a certain track. You have even entered into it through a leap of faith or going in foolishly, and it may involve a friend group or a friend. It may have been something where you were very hopeful. That you thought you could just continuously offer unconditional love. You've been rescuing somebody. I've been rescuing somebody, and we've got the card Ariadne here. And Ariadne's mythology is basically she rescues so-and-so from the labyrinth, and then he builds himself up, And then she falls in love with him, and then he doesn't ever love her back. He just leaves. And so she's sad or mad because she invested all this whatever care and love into a situation where she held hope for it, but it never turned out how she wanted, right? Like, let me ask another deck, like what's the most important thing for us to know about this? All right, I feel like it's too many, but I'll keep those into consideration when I. What's the most important thing for us to consider about this? It's over. Okay, so this may be something we're looking at in retrospect, or there's something that's going to change in this now. We're looking to add compassion to yourself and the other, and to realize there's some unconscious pattern here. So maybe you held an expectation of another person, and maybe it was that they would love you back. Maybe you see that they love themselves very much. Maybe they only offer you friendship, but you held out hope for more. And there is a reason for this that is in your unconscious patterns. Okay? And if you can, forget about that other person for a moment to just deal within yourself, because you can't change the other person, and you can figure out how you feel about that after you've dealt with the root cause within you on why you even were a match to that situation. And the reason you were a match to that situation is because of some sort of aspiration that you had. This whole experience has been on your highest path. Like, this is something that you really wanted to experience as a soul. And it's kind of like, what is driving you? What is driving you? Because, you know, the story with Icarus is, you know, basically if he just didn't want to go bigger and better and more, he would have been fine. But he screwed himself over because he was like blindly driven towards whatever, like achievement, right? And it's blindly because it's in the subconscious. So you don't really realize what's driving you. And it's a pattern. So you've done this before. You've unconsciously driven yourself to achieve more and to get maybe more recognition or to have more in relationship from a certain place within yourself. I think it is a place where you feel unconditionally loving and you feel full of hope. Maybe you use fantasy to feed this in yourself, right? Like you're telling yourself the story of how it's going to go, and really maybe forgetting to take into consideration the other person, and maybe not even having the conversation with them about what their intentions are, or maybe knowing their intentions and just hoping that they'll change or something like that, which is deceit. Okay, what else is important about this? It was a trustworthy friend. No, so you may have lost a friendship over this situation, and it's healthy to feel low and sad about this now, because this is something you had to learn, and it's not a pleasant thing to learn, but you did have to learn it. Like unrequited love, right? It's like, what inspired you to do this? Because it wasn't your intuition, and it wasn't your passion, and it wasn't your curiosity. So it was something in your ego that is trying to protect you, or that thinks it needs to have a certain status or a title, or just be recognized in a certain way. It's something very shallow that you don't even realize is driving you. And it is not, even though your soul wanted to have this experience, it's not what your soul wants to achieve overall. It's just that your soul knew it needed to have this experience to sort of bring you back towards the space that you need to be in to achieve what you are here to achieve, which you will which, when it's something that you're here to achieve, you will achieve it, and you won't burn up trying to get close to the sun, or put your focus in a direction where it didn't actually belong. It was about status. What you were trying to achieve was about status more than, it's the word, substance. It wasn't tied to your heart. Let's see. Is that true? Let's see. Maybe that was the confusing part, because I feel like you did get unconditionally loving here. And so maybe it was tied to your heart. It's just that it got morphed or something, because there was true friendship. It's just like Ariadne fell for and wanted more, expected more out of the relationship. And we've got Hopi here. So there was hope, and hope can kind of keep you perpetually in this infinite loop of hoping and wishing for more. And in actuality, this whole thing is sort of selfish. So that's just information to reflect on. That's the whole message, is to kind of look for that root cause of what drove you to want to have the recognition that you were trying to achieve with the whole situation. Whether it be a recognition of you as a good partner, or I think it's something like that. Okay, pick 2. That is your reading. And we're going to move on to pick 3. Pick 3. You know what? Pick 3. Coaster here, and I'm going to put it right there, and I'm going to pause you while I grab my coffee. Okay. Shuffling. And we got Scorpio. We got MC, which is the midheaven, which is where the world sees you, or can also signify your career. And we've got Lilith. Amicitia. Angel. I believe Amicitia did come out in another reading. Other readings, I'm not sure. Aries and Icarus. Yes, those three, Amicitia, Aries, and Icarus, did come out in another reading. So if you're drawn to more than one, don't be afraid to check those out. Now we got Angel in here, so let's see. So far, this is a career in shadow work, in taxes, other people's money, sex. I don't know what this is yet. Okay, Chiron. Other people we got, and square. Calypso. Heroes. I feel like I still gotta pull some more because I don't know yet. Leo. Pluto. Some sort of deep transformation about having difficulty with other people. Maybe someone comes along and kind of helps you see it a different way, or the energy is just right, and then you get to see it a different way. Yeah. Interesting. This could be tied to another reading, but let's see. Right. Difficulty, other people causing difficulty and cutting you off from something you feel passionate about, something that would be seen publicly, but something that isn't usually seen publicly. There's a deep transformation going on. After sort of pursuing something selfishly, getting hurt by it, realizing there's something different for you. It was like you were cut off from something that you felt passionate about. Could have been a friend. And it's brought up so much of the darker stuff within you. Like you could, all of a sudden on the surface, you could see a lot of your intentions and like stuff that you really weren't considering about yourself. Hold on. I had to cough and then I took a sip of my coffee. But I'm back. I think it made it difficult for you to express yourself, and you had to sort of comfort yourself. It's like you're being given this chance to see and be present with some of your more darker motivations, some of the wounding that you have, especially about women. There's a part of you that's been categorizing women like as either like a siren or an angel, like a devil or an angel, a seductress or an angel, like some sort of categorization here. I think you found yourself more passionately drawn towards the darker stuff in women. And okay, yeah, we've got new cycle, angel, Aries, and Leo. And it's like, I think that this has pushed you towards a new cycle, which begins with sort of seeing either the other side of women or just a different kind of woman. Like you healed a deep wound that had you attracted towards certain women, relationships with women, whether it was friendships or romantic, maybe even in your career. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And maybe you always ended up seeing like the darker side of women through these relationships that you were having, that you were drawn to, and that you kept getting burned by. And this has caused you to realize what inside you needed to be healed. Upon healing that, you begin a new cycle because it was the time to do it and for no other reason. This was the time to do it. And this new cycle has you taking a leap of faith into your own self-expression. And honoring of I kind of want to say women, but I don't know why I'm saying that. It could just be other people, and if men are involved as well, it could be the feminine side of men. You know, the side of men that has sensitivity and discernment with intuition and nurturing. Yeah, just starting to feed yourself with goodness, you know? Allowing the goodness for yourself. Yes, it was a worth issue. It was a self-worth issue because the reason why you were attracted towards darker qualities was because that's where your worth lined up. And so in healing that and seeing that in yourself, you heal that, and then you are able to line up with something that has goodness for you, you know, that's not going to feed your shadow side. That's going to allow you to build on your self and your self-love. And I want to say the things that you were cut off from achieving become available to you again because you've fixed a break in your foundation. And now what you grow on that foundation or build on that foundation is something that is structurally sound and nourishing for you. And you see the value in it. And you know that you're worth it. Anything else here? You're cut off until you did this transformation. And this is your highest path. Nothing's gone wrong, you know? So there's no need to waste time in thinking that. It's like take the nutrients from what you have experienced because even that is important to you. Because it's not like, oh, I'm going towards things that are good and that was bad. It's like, no, that was a match for what you were at the time, and you love those parts of you too, you know? It's just that now that you understand where those patterns take you, and you understand that you can never line up with what you actually want on those timelines, you're willing to close them out in order to pursue something that does match what you want. And that will allow you to get there in a healthy way that does not harm you or anyone else. It's a new cycle. It's also a new way of being, and it's a much higher vibration. And it came by way of working through the difficulties. So because you can't control other people, it was working through the difficulties that presented in relationship with other people, but working through the difficulty within you that lined you up with that. Whether they change or not, whether they're inspired by your changing or not, that's all kind of separate. It's like what you have control over is you. And so you may naturally vibrate away from certain situations that are no longer aligned with you, or at very least, a certain way of being that no longer aligns with you. And that way of being was to think that you weren't worth it, or to unconsciously believe that you weren't worth it. Either way. Could have been both. Could have been different things on different topics. Okay. Okay, pick 3. That is your reading. I'm going to move on to pick 4. We got 12th house, Proserpina. Proserpina is like shadow. Think shadow material. I think it's another mythology that has the same story as Persephone. So going down into the underworld, being tempted, but eventually coming back up for at least a time. Okay, so crescent moon, which is the emotions just starting to emerge. Neptune, oh gosh, this is interesting. So obviously pile 4, you are talking about 12th house and Neptune, and both of these energies are so elusive and hard to pin down, and so can be very confusing and limitless and open to possibility and undefined and void of label, definition, words. So this will be interesting to see what I even can offer. Like I just got dizzy when I just tapped into that energy. Like my vision just kind of went, whoa. Interesting. Name asteroid. This has to do with a person. Eurus. Discord and chaos. Aries. Just a pioneer, starting out on a journey. Achilles. There's a person here showing you your weaknesses. So that you can weigh your heart. We got Anubis, Anubis. Weighing your heart is it light as a feather? Okay. This is what I'm feeling and seeing. Like you're traveling through this like uncharted territory. It feels dark and foggy, and there are trees and nature, and there's a path, but you barely see up ahead. You don't know where you could possibly trip over something or fall in a hole or anything at any time. Someone comes along with a flashlight and shines it on you. And you can see right in time, like, oh, look, I was going to trip over that. Oh, I was going to fall in that little hole. You realize that you are susceptible to those things. You were susceptible to falling in a hole. You were susceptible to tripping. And you thank that person and you say, I didn't know that those threats were there, so thank you for letting me know. And I think it's because are very innocent or pure. Hold on. Okay, so I think that you are very pure, and I think that I just had it. It's so elusive, right? Okay, so it's like this need to find a balance between structure and freedom. Is that the right word? Structure and growth. Structure and growth. Structure and growth. It's like having your structure and knowing your routines and patterns and things that keep you comfortable and safe and have your needs met. And then on the other hand, also being willing to pioneer and go where things are not defined and take a leap of faith and venture into things that are unknown, because both are equally important. Both are very important to you, to your soul's evolution. And so, where people have shown you your, I want to say, weaknesses, some of them by harming you in the weakness, it may have pushed you towards having more structures of safety, right? Maybe isolating and things like that. And there's a risk that you may have held grudges or fears or held yourself as a victim. And those things would be things that would not allow your heart to be light as a feather. So those things are the things that you would balance out and neutralize the energy of, right? So by accepting them and being present with any feelings and processing through, at at times that your structure and your comfort were disrupted, it was a lot of times by other people, and that you learned your ability to recover, and you learned where you begin and you end and they begin sort of thing, like, which isn't real. I think it's like being aware of both, that you are connected to them, but also you are separate from them. It's so elusive. It's like words sell me short on every sentence that I try to say in this reading, because it's like a delicate chemistry. It's like a delicate biosphere. Is biosphere? It's like a delicate balance between this and that and all things and nothing. It's it's like, how do you weigh your heart as light as a feather if you've not affected the world, if you've not put your mark on it? So it's like putting your mark on the world, making your contribution to the world in such a way that is light as a feather. So maybe it's through spreading information, it's through a creation that is like air, like music or song or podcast, a book, light as a feather. Interesting, because books can be heavy though. Um, air is communication. And all right, let me ask, what do we need to know about this other person? What do we need to know about this other person? That you've been made aware of what you needed to be aware of. That it is part of your highest path. So you may fear that like there's more to come, or that you can't, you may be in fear or fear reaction. Like you may be trying to protect yourself, you may be trying to hold them in like a vilified state. But it's not like that. Like the story of Persephone is, she actually does fall in love with Pluto, or Hades, however the story goes. And like, he likes being there, Presence. So I feel like this other person is present, or will be present. I just heard maybe so you can see another side of them. Anything else about this other person, please? I think I gotta pull from the other deck. Full of compassion flipped over. So maybe this person, may have known that you were being shown your weaknesses and may have had compassion for that. Tell me about this other person. Yeah, I don't think there was something malicious here, although swindle just came out. They had a bigger picture view than you. They could see where you were cursed or limited. And why. Sis. Yeah, I feel like they did act like your nemesis. Interesting. Cupid. Some sort of victory to be had with this, what seems to be a former nemesis. Where the pieces can be put together. All right, tell me about this other person. So interesting, right? Like you must be a high-level soul to have gone through this. There's going to be a new beginning and a fresh start. Tell me about this other person. You know, the illusion of nemesis and swindle could have been used in this because there's so much Neptune in 12th house. 12th house can be your hidden enemies. But we do have victory here. Eunice is victory. So I would pay attention to whatever weaknesses you've been shown. Make sure you have integrated the lessons. Could be a family member. Who's the other person? Have a bigger picture view. Yeah, I think there's just something more to be experienced, and it's not the same cycle that it was. And given what you have already learned from all your be confusing and elusive lessons, you'll be prepared to handle whatever comes next. So I don't think I can tell you what to expect from this other person, but the reading is indicating that it's not over, that there's going to be some other leg of the journey. So that's all I can say about it. Maybe a playful approach will be helpful. You can do it. Just keep shining and keep your heart open. You know, that purity is your strength. Yes. Okay. File 4, very exciting. And that completes your reading.